and welcome to Four Wheels Good, the programme which puts you in the driving seat of the motoring world and hurtles you round its ever-changing circuit. In today's show, we jet over to the USA and meet the man who builds the hot rods of the stars. We find out exactly how computers are used by Ford at every stage of the design and production of any new car. And the mechanic with the moustache mixes it with motors in his studio garage in Inside Motors. But first, Steve Vokins recently took a day trip to visit a classic British car manufacturer. They have over 65 years of motoring heritage and are famous for not having four wheels. Have you guessed who they are yet?
I'm here today to visit the manufacturer of a British car that's been around for 62 years. 2 years ago, that company had no future, until in stepped a gallant Jonathan Haynes who turned the company round. What is that company? Well, actually, it's Reliant. But don't laugh, because it's a good story. I'm talking now to Jonathan Haynes, the Managing Director of Reliant. In March 1996, things were looking pretty grim for Reliant, then you came along. Why?
Well, in 95, the end of 95, the company went into administration, and the administrators put the company up for sale, and we had several people who were interested in Reliant, and I formed a small team around me, and we did our due diligence, and by March we made up our mind that this was a company which could be turned around. It was a unique opportunity to acquire a company which has got 65 years of British motoring heritage behind it, and it was on a substantial site with an extremely good trading record in the UK. We've got a niche market with the passenger cars, but I feel that there is another niche market with the small commercial courier vans, courier pickups, particularly for London and inner cities in Europe. And we have a unique turning circle, the same as a London taxi, 24 feet, doesn't scratch, doesn't rust, and frankly they go on forever.
I must say they do look very smart, all nice and new, with these racy wheels and new trim. Tell me more about them. Who are you aiming them at?
Well, traditionally motorbike license holders have been our main customer base, but with the commercial side we think that small businesses, in fact I know small businesses will take the car, perhaps window cleaners, small plumbing companies and that type of thing, which have already shown a lot of interest.
So we're in the factory now. Can you explain a bit about the production line?
Yes, on a single weekly shift we've got a capacity for over 30 vehicles as it stands at the moment, with our current labour loading. And behind me we bring the cars in from our paint shop, and then traditionally what I call a pre-mount line, and then we go to a mounting track which is on this side, and then on to a final finish area. And then from here the cars go to road test and water test, and for any rectification that needs to be done, and then to a dispatch bay and PDI, and then the dealers come to collect the cars from the factory.
And the cars and the commercials go down the same line?
Yes, they do. We keep them slightly segregated left to right, but the whole idea is to build the cars with the same people, the same skills, down a single production line.
Your name's not just associated with Reliant, you were involved in the motor industry before that, weren't you?
Yes, I was. I was previously at Jaguar Cars, and started at Jaguar in 1964 as a student apprentice, and I worked my way through various departments at Jaguar for 25 years, and then I left in 1990 and set up my own business, which was quite successful, and then it gave me the opportunity to purchase into Reliant.
As you say, there is a great following amongst the owners, the very loyal owners, but it's one of the British characteristics that people like to knock a success, and Reliant's had its degree of knockers. Tell me why they're wrong.
Well, they're certainly wrong. I think I expect a lot of people who perhaps knock the product probably haven't tried the product. Certainly when you drive the three-wheel car, it feels no different at all to a four-wheel car. And it's extremely nippy and handles well, and I would say please come and try the car before you knock it.
Obviously, as you said, you built four-wheelers, but why three wheels? What's special about three wheels rather than four?
Well, in the immediate sense, three wheels has got the advantage that it's a £60 license fee per year rather than £150 currently being used, and it's also extremely lightweight. Of course, if you're saving weight of the fourth wheel, and again, that's attractive in terms of the weight limits which we have to do to get our performance right.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to buy a second-hand car manufacturer?
Buy one. It's probably the unique opportunity to do it, and frankly, there aren't many left to buy.
Steve Vokins there with some good advice on buying a classic British car manufacturer. Now, if you've got a huge wad of cash burning a hole in your pocket and have an idea that you'd like a very special personalised hot rod, then there's one man you should go and see. He's designed and built cars for many stars, and perhaps most famously for one of the members of ZZ Top. Well, he lives over in the States, and we at Four Wheels Good went to meet him.
Anaheim, Southern California, and the home of Boyd Coddington's Hot Rod Factory, where they rarely work to a budget or a timetable. Quality overrides all other considerations here, and the bottom line is a customer's blank cheque.
Well, I'd bring you in and show you the whole shop and talk to you and kind of pick your brain a little bit to see what you really like, and then go and figure out what you want. Then we do some rough sketches and figure out what kind of car, and then actually go to a full size, not a full size rendering, but about a 5th scale rendering of what the car would look like. And then if you like that, and then you accepted that, then we'd have Chip, our designer, actually do a clay model and work off of it from there. If it was a real exotic car like the 37 Roadstar we're doing.
Do you regard yourself as an artist?
Yeah, to a certain extent. Yeah, I think that it's an art form, and we're doing things in that form. But sometimes I don't like to be called an artist, you know. But I'd have to say we're in that family. Yes. What
is the average time scale from this to the finished product?
Most of the time, we takes a year and a half. On some of the projects we do, like with some of the magazines, we get deadlines for the covers and stuff like that. Zoom was about a 6-month project, and Billy Gibbons' car was about a 6-month project.
Must be very impressive to work here and see top celebrities coming through the doors.
Yeah, I think sometimes that's the top celebrities mean something to everybody, but you know, we base our whole business off of the common people too. But the celebrities we did work for, like the Beach Boys. Al Jardine, we built a Woody and a Deuce Coupe for him, and Billy Gibbons from the ZZ Top, you know, and of course Joe Rudke, who owns Mr. Gasket. And the other interesting project we're going to work on is not hot rod related, but it's we're going to do a guitar for Jeff Beck, and just because we're so familiar with doing aluminum milling and stuff like that, we decided we'd like to build a guitar for somebody, so we decided to do it for him because he loved hot rods so much. Most of our customers, almost 100% of them, take the cars and drive them, but they also like to just have them in their garage where they can look at them and admire them and stuff. It is like a piece of art, some of the stuff, but we also like to let everybody know that our cars are very drivable.
What's the Shazoom like to drive?
Shazoom is like driving a new Corvette. It's got the LT1 motor and all that stuff. Would you like to go take a ride in it?
Love to.
Okay.
Without a doubt, some of the oddest looking cars and guitars. Well, that's it for part one. Join us after the break when we'll be learning how important computers have become in the design and production of cars. And Mr. Magic mixes with the innermost recesses of our engines in Inside Motors. See you soon. Hello and welcome back to Four Wheels Good, the show that doesn't always feature four wheels, but is always at the forefront of the motoring world. In most areas of manufacturing these days, computers are relied on heavily, not least as you'd expect in the world of motor manufacturing. At Ford, computers are used in every area of design and production, and perhaps most stunning of all, 70% of the crash testing done is virtual crash testing.
I don't think it's a well-known fact, but Ford actually has a greater amount of computer processing capability, more than any other auto manufacturer, and certainly only maybe a handful of governments and other institutions have anywhere near our capability.
Computer power doesn't just help operations in the dealership, the office and on the shop floor. Ford's Global Computer Integration Program, using a battery of super machines, is allowing computers across research, engineering and manufacturing to suppliers and information management to communicate with one another in a common language. With this system, Ford can go from design concept to manufacturing work completely on computer screens. And Ford's Puma is a visible sign of this computer concentration. Traditionally, numerous clay models are built to assess the design concept of any new vehicle, but because this car was rendered almost completely on the computer screen, only one single clay was needed to bring it to the design approval stage, faster and less expensive.
Between the design theme and the final product, you can say that the design concept has not been changed. In detail, just very small details, but the general concept is there, and this is what we are very happy about and very proud of.
Computer-aided design, or CAD, is now an established tool in the automotive designer's armory. The traditional practice of rendering early sketches and color drawings on paper has been replaced by the ability to visualize a three-dimensional and moving form, plus the ability to make instant changes or additions as the concept develops.
In the old process, the nature was that you had sometimes more designers working on one model. Now really you're giving each designer the opportunity to create his own model and to be very consistent then in the design.
The CAD system isn't meant to compromise or supersede any designer's ability. It's a tool to aid creative skills.
The design process changed in the last 10 years quite a lot, theoretically. And I think we can expect to be also quite more radical in the next 10 years.
Under Ford's Global Computer Integration Program, all involved in the vehicle's development will have access to the same database. Under the system already in place, those who style the body and those who devise the mechanicals that go into it share the resource. Using this computer muscle, the product component engineers are able to develop the necessary components to suit that application speedily and efficiently. In the past, numerous prototypes were needed for assessment and physical testing. Under this system, much of the stress analysis is carried out using computer power, with possible weaknesses identified and corrected before the first component is ever produced in metal. Ford also uses computers to design, engineer, and even crash test a vehicle before the company builds its first prototype. About 70% of the crash tests are now carried out on computer, providing more complete and accurate information to ensure a vehicle's crashworthiness as well as to develop future safety systems. Simulated crash tests like these require enormous computer resources, but the results justify the commitment. This is one of the world's most advanced 5-axis milling machines. A team operate and program these machines that transfer computer images into solid models in foam, synthetic wood or traditional clay.
With this milling machine we're able to machine models in either clay or in a harder material like the material looking at here, in a variety of sizes, from something as small as this little tiny model which illustrates the precision of the machine, through to a scale model like this, up to a full-size vehicle.
And no, this is not a new computer game. Ford is the first car manufacturer to use computer simulations to design its vehicle final assembly processes. As manufacturing engineers work alongside project design engineers and use the same computer images of vehicle components and facilities, assembly techniques can now be developed at the same time components are designed. Analysis of past practice shows that this virtual factory not only makes possible the effective reuse of expensive machinery and achieves less changes, but results in processes designed faster and at lower costs.
There are known processes that we have identified that tend to have ergonomic concerns in the past, and we're kind of using that as a best practice to direct our efforts that we're putting into the simulation.
Computer simulations are used here to ensure that, for example, when an operator is assembling a door panel, he or she can complete the work without strain or poor results.
So the idea was to evaluate whether it was feasible for an operator to firstly install the door module assembly, and secondly to take the latch part of the assembly, feed it through the door, and with the other hand be able to secure the latch assembly using a power tool. We need to become more analytical, and these tools give us that analytical capability early in the program without having to wait for physical prototypes to be available much later in the program.
It's absolutely stunning the amount of computer technology that goes into the motor industry, and the changes have happened in such a short period of time. Someone who also knows about technology, not in computers but in motor engineering, is our resident mechanic, Mr. John Wright. Come on, John, show us how it's done.
Right, I'm looking at these pistons. I'm suspecting at the minute that this engine has been rebuilt. It is nice, it is clean. I'm just going to have another look at this bearing and see if I can get one out. Just need to prise this out. I'm struggling with oily hands. That's got it. Pop that on there. A little bit more gentle persuasion on this. Yeah. Finally persuade this to move. That's got it. There we go. For this camshaft retaining plate. 3. We do that. Oops, throw things around. Put the 1/2 inch back on. 2 bolts should see this plate off now. Right. Oh, that's harder than I thought. Yeah, that's because I've left 2 bolts in. Plate should knock off. That's it. Right, we'll just get rid of this crankshaft and then we've got the engine stripped down. Get that on there. Lovely. Now what I'm doing now is taking out the main bearing caps. Before it was the big ends, now it's the mains. Just change this for the speed wrench and we can get these things out quicker. There we go. Whoop.
John will be tinkering with the insides of vehicles again next week. Also on next week's show, our motorsport guru Richard Warren will be at the launch of the Skoda Rally Championship. Ginny Buckley will be driving one of the biggest style statements of recent times and reaffirming her belief that the Ford Puma is a great sports car. And Steve Vokins will be living with Mitsubishi's Shogun. See you then.